The world of streaming television brought us global experiences like never before. It crushed language and cultural barriers and let the whole world immersed in fictional, beautiful stories. The last virality is South Korean survivalist TV drama called Squid Game. But there is a dark truth about the global enjoyment of this show. In this episode, we will look at the scientific truth behind the show's storylines. We will take a deeper look at the global and South Korean economy. We will consult psychologists and psychiatrists and mix it with mathematical game theory at the very end. My name is Vladislav Radak and this is the best Squid Game tracksuit I have in my closet. In this show, called Fabric of Life, we analyze great art and science to answer humanity's most difficult questions. We use everything and sometimes we travel the world. This week's question is pretty simple. Why Squid Game is so popular? Let me take you on an adventure.
Hello, Instagram.
Bad boy. I'm on a mission and I won't stop.
The 9-episode horror series on Netflix has hit #1 in 90 countries of the streaming service markets worldwide, including South Korea, where it was made. This shouldn't come as a surprise. South Korean cultural exports like K-pop and enchanting cinema like Oscar-winning movie Parasite dominate global pop cultural mindset. Or as I would put it, when white chicks start dressing up according to your pop culture on TikTok, you know you're doing the right thing. Now, what came as a surprise to me both as a scientist and a writer is obviously why this? Why now? Similar great Asian shows with gamified experience and brutality came on Netflix before. Brilliantly made in Japan, Alice in Borderland didn't have international recognition. South Korean noodle shop Employees by Day and Demon Hunters by Night, under the title The Uncanny Counter, is critically acclaimed show without Twitter buzz, and monster-infested Sweet Home didn't get any TikTokers going crazy, even with its video game-like appeal. So why this particular show, Squid Game, got so much international attention? The answer can be put in just a couple of words: depth, fueled by capitalism, and never-ending struggle to pay it off. It is not a secret, South Korea's economic boom was fueled by a very competitive society. That intense competitiveness might be one of the reasons behind country's success, with a period of rapid industrialization starting in the early 60s that turned into the world's 10th largest economy. But as many other countries, a university degree and white-collar job do not guarantee financial success. They used to. With an average income of only about $45,000 a year, many Koreans find they have to borrow to keep up. Fueled by low interest rates, household debt in South Korea has significantly grown in recent years, and it's now equal to the country's annual GDP. People may rack up debt because of the credit card spending, unemployment or gambling losses, but large chunk of it's tied to real estate. Housing prices have been rising fast, and the average price of an apartment in Seoul is nearing $1 million. Many young South Koreans start borrowing money from legal, traditional institutions like banks, for example. Their interest rates are relatively low. When that avenue is exhausted, they move to a second-tier lenders. According to my sources, there are 400,000 Koreans that are debt to loan sharks. Their interest rates are in triple digits. And here is the first sign of the global appeal. With the largest global youth population ever, millions of today's youth are being failed by the world. They're bearing the burden of inequality, poverty, and debt. Corporate schemes take advantage of young people who are at the highest unemployment rate in modern history. The modern corporate system pushes young people to compete one against another in survivalist games of who can work more and harder for less money in order to qualify for the next round. The plot of Squid Game was easy to accept because it dealt with such familiar stories of debt-ridden people you come across in your real life. And now, if you're not sure if your country is part of this brutalist neo-capitalistic regime, let me tell you something. If your country has Netflix, then the answer is probably yes. There is also a convoluted psychological explanation to the popularity of this show, as Dr. Bean's Nene explains for Psychology Today. First, we identify with the competitors and put ourselves in their shoes, but this is not all we do. After a couple of episodes, it is revealed that those games are watched by VIPs who put money on competitors, just like one does at horse races. In some sense, when we watch this series, we are in very similar position to those VIPs who take voyeuristic pleasure in finding out who dies in this round and who survives. So, we occupy a double perspective. We are aligned with competitors, worrying about their every move, but we're also aligned with VIPs, coldly observing the games. Switching back and forth between those two perspectives is the most important, innovative move of the show, and it's one that makes it easier to combine caring about the social message and at the same time all wrapped up in the story. This back and forth constantly triggers our defense mechanisms, and we are constantly immersed in the story. Our fears that this may happen to us are slightly anesthetized by the fact that the show is Korean, and this is a form of distancing. As it is set in different country, it's easy for the viewers to have an outsider point of view, to avoid having to think that it is all about us. The third and a final part, why do I think this show is so brilliant, is mathematical game theory. And I would probably need another 20 minutes to explain basics of it, but I stumbled upon this brilliant article written by anonymous Cornell University student, and I will link it down below. The basic premise is relatively simple. The show Squid Game uses not only the concept of zero-sum, but also the games the participants play can be analyzed by Nash equilibrium and dominant strategy. The participants are not given any hints of what games they are playing. Instead, they find out at the very start of each game. Some games are played individually, but others require the participants to grow up or partner up. Who to team up would largely depend on whether the game has advantage for men or women. Combination of all of those things make neurons inside our skull fire up like a random holiday's fireworks. We feel like VIPs betting on our favorites, and then we go online and share our hypotheses and hopes. We hope that this game will not happen to us, but sometimes we forget that as long as we feed our attention to Netflix's algorithm, this can make us players in the capitalist game of life and death sooner than later. Hey, Vlad again here. Please subscribe to this channel if you're not, because every week I'm taking you on an amazing adventure, and sometimes we travel around the world. Italy, Portugal and Spain episodes are coming next. We're going to discover how one artist continued creating even after his death. Until then, stay tuned and curious, and don't forget, libraries still exist.